Hello, class. This week's chapter is on information systems within an organization. In other words, all of the software that assists an organization in managing their processes, keeping track of their business, accounting, finance, all that kind of stuff. So the chapter starts off talking about transaction processing systems, which is basically just the major data collection type of system. So every single type of transaction that goes on, whether it be a sale to a customer at a retail location or a request for vacation from an internal employee, all that's collected by the transaction processing system. And then that data gets distributed out to the functional area information system. So the HR system will track that that vacation request was put in, that that person has enough days to use, and will record it that they've taken that day and it can be deducted from the remaining time available. And so that might also get recorded at another place, like in accounting, that those funds are set aside to pay for that portion of the person's paycheck. So what all this comes down to is again managing the information flow externally and internally, and companies will look at this differently depending upon the size. For example, if you're just running a local business, obviously you don't have all these different silos of data being created. It's kind of one dashboard with all the information put together right there. But if you're in big business, it's some pretty complex interactions that these FAISs will have with each other. And the chapter points out that's one of the traditional issues with this, is that the systems a lot of times didn't talk to each other. So your accounting system didn't necessarily speak to the sales system, which didn't necessarily speak to the production system from the factory, and that could cause major problems and also cost the company a lot of money in doing those translations. So now the systems are being built so that you have enterprise resource planning that allows those different silos to communicate with each other. And if you're in a smaller company, it might be sort of the backbone of your entire IS is that enterprise system. So what's interesting is big business really comes down to finance. Smaller businesses might be about a service or a product. Big business is about managing the money, making the money. A lot of times your product, while it might be the thing that you market and that you spend the most time talking about, really it's about the money that you make from that product and how you track it and make it grow even further. So I know someone, for example, that works for Royal Caribbean Cruises, and that person doesn't have anything to do with cruises at all. They actually manage the commodities trading for that company. So they are involved with, buying oil futures and selling them, that kind of stuff, to make the corporation money for the investors. So these systems allow companies to more easily track some of that data as well. So it's a pretty interesting process. I think this chapter is pretty simplistic in terms of the concepts that it's explaining. It's pretty straightforward. Most people have had some type of experience with these systems if you've worked at all. So I don't think we have to go into that stuff any further. And just a reminder that next week the draft for the big research paper is due. So please let me know if you have any questions about that, and we'll talk to you next week.